Hey everybody, and welcome to Lobster Magnet Review, the channel of my buddy Gorogregoro in the Gorogregoro studios of his room.
What's up?
Hey, so we are really here and excited to talk about like something that's like, oh, this gets me pumped. So we're talking about the Inuyashiki anime, and we have a little bit of a special attachment towards this because this is there's a new anime from the based on the manga from the creator of Gantz. So we followed the Gantz manga and the anime back in the day, back in college, and we both we enjoyed parts of it.
Yeah, the anime is pretty good up until the point where it got to filler.
Oh yeah, well even the anime had some like terrible pacing here and there, but it still like did a mostly pretty good job of translating the manga stuff.
Yeah, the anime was I still really enjoyed the anime. Up until that point.
Oh yeah, the filler was god awful.
Bang!
That was like the stupidest crud.
That was a reference to like Cowboy Bebop, wasn't it?
I have no idea. I just remember he's like in a train, and then all the dead people are looking at him, and then he like turns to the train and says "bang." It was an attempt to try and be like very arty for like because like at that point nothing had been explained about the Gantz universe, and you could almost argue that like even now things are kind of like not very well explained, other than the fact there are these trans-dimensional alien things that like sent the black balls just for giggles and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Inuyashiki though, like I really like this manga. I love the premise. Basically, the premise is it's about an old guy who has this miserable family who all hates him. His children don't respect him. He's got this frumpy, ugly wife who doesn't respect him. Nobody respects him. He gets cancer. He thinks he's about to die. Then he's like, walking the dog who nobody likes out in the middle of the thing. And then, good thing, trans-dimensional aliens blow him apart. And then they're like, oh, wow, we destroyed this sentient life form. Let's rebuild him with one of our, war robots.
I think they did that because they didn't want their presence to be known or found. They didn't want any evidence that they killed just a couple random humans, so
I guess
they rebuilt them and tried to replicate, all their visual qualities. Like the fact that he had like this plastic case of what his cell phone used to be was, I think, a pretty good indicator of that, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it was in all honesty, it's kind of a dumb setup. But it's an excuse to give him like his robot superpowers and turn him into a superpowered robot. So that's fine by me. That's fine. It's basically an old man superhero. That's great. It's an old man who becomes a superhero through his incredible metallic superpowers, and it's fun to see this old guy like discover his powers and eventually learn to help people. Because, one of the tropes that the Gantz guy loves is, like, just showing how, like, terrible people are in Japan. So, of course, we get, like, these, like...
Oh, God, yeah.
These, like, little kids who want to, like, murder this, like, poor homeless guy who, like, finally gets a break in a park. And it's just sort of like, yeah, let's shoot fireworks at him because we're just awful little kids. And then Inuyashiki's there, and he becomes like the little warrior of justice standing up to the homeless guy. And then even better than that, when they think that they've got him killed, is like incredible robot body takes all their pictures and then uploads them on the internet and uploads videos, and they're completely screwed.
Yeah, to just like crucify them like through social media in a sense, and they're just like, oh my God, we're so screwed. Everybody knows what we do now. which is in this guy's like sort of sci-fi over. Usually people like that don't get punished. Yeah, and it's a very interesting way of how they bring justice. It's like a very modern way of like bringing justice in a show like this.
And this is a pretty good adaptation. That opening song is like freaking bananas.
Yeah, the opening for this anime is pretty cool looking, actually.
I'm surprised they like have it. Like, it gives away so much of the manga. And that's another thing I'm really excited about is that, like, The Inuyashiki manga is only like 84 chapters. It was funny. Like I read somewhere that it didn't sell as well as Gantz, so the guy was like, "All right, I'm just gonna wrap it up really quickly." And you'll see. I'm hoping they'll adapt the whole manga because, like, in this one episode, there were 7 chapters of content.
Yeah, it seems like they're really speeding through with this one. I hope it doesn't get too rushed. Actually, with the pace that they're going. 7 chapters is a lot of chapters to fit in one episode.
Well, the Gantz guy, he's like notorious for like doing like 15 or 14 pages like per an issue, and then having like double page spreads. So, sometimes it feels reading them from week to week feels like an agony just because they're moving so slowly. So I for one am happy about this pacing, and hope that all 80 chapters of manga get condensed down into a good 12 episodes.
Yeah,
and I'm curious to see how the more darker materials adapted. Like there's this one scene you remember I showed it to you. It's like one of my favorite scenes in the manga with the Yakuza guy.
Oh God, yeah, that's gonna be really freaky to see animated.
Oh God, and like there's the great scene where he comes in at the Yakuza guy, and it was like one of my favorite things of manga of all time.
Okay, that I haven't seen yet.
You've seen that. You've seen that. I've shown that to you.
Where the old guy comes in.
Well, basically, like the couples there. Spoilers if you care.
No, I don't want to hear it. Actually, I kind of just don't.
I've shown it to you.
No, I don't remember. And I don't want to be spoiled.
Fine, but I hope it's as good in the anime as it is in the manga because he does like a really cool thing where like he doesn't he just has like the frame stay on like this one panel. And he doesn't like move the camera, so it's just like this motion of him just like pushing forward, and like it just felt like the most epic thing. Like you were like watching this incredible flip book, and I loved it. I loved it, and I hope it's as good in the anime as it was in the manga.
It sounds like it. He maybe has like a good way of like visualizing how this. Like envisioning like how it would be animated when he's drawing these panels.
Yeah, he's definitely like a very technically because he uses a lot of CGI in his work with like those weird robot contraptions.
Yeah,
he says he loves science fiction, and I think he's like heavily influenced by like The Matrix and Blade Runner, and he's always kind of has a visual aesthetic in mind for like how he like composes his manga. So that scene felt very cinematic, and overall it's like. He says he draws manga because he wants to like create, the most incredible sci-fi stories that he can, without having to spend millions of dollars.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. He does seem to have a really great vision, like how deep, dark, creepy, and crazy he wants to make these sci-fi stories, and it's really great. These kinds of stories, like. Every now and then you just see into like the dark side of humanity.
Well,
mixed in with all this cool gadgets and whatnot.
One of the things that I think Inuyashiki works really, really well is like it's got the typical Gantz darkness, but because Inuyashiki is like himself is like a more traditional hero, it's a nice off balance between like what we normally associate him with, which is usually like pitch black stuff, like oh my god, humanity's these horrible animals that just prey upon each other, and either become strong or you just get preyed upon by the darkest depths of humanity.
But this old guy, he's like the symbolism of innocent hope and
hope and
innocence and hope, and guess
which of course means he's going to be pit against like the darkest mofo you can actually conjure up, and you get a little taste of that in this image. There's another guy who's with him who gets like a robot body, and he does some pretty messed up, pretty flopped up stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen some of that manga material. I don't want to spoil it for.
I'm curious to see if like it gets censored or if they like get any restrictions placed on it, because like I don't know, man. There's some really dark stuff. Some of it gets a little ridiculous though, as it sort of escalates and like people become more aware of him, and it kind of like gets like borderline silly. But I still enjoy it, and it's definitely like this. You can almost say maybe there's like this subtext of like the older generation fighting against the like amoral youth.
Yeah, maybe. Just I don't know. It's kind of weird sometimes. Like he paints that kind of general picture of like youth is most of them are just like really like horrible like human beings and like awful. Like it. I don't think it's generally true that everyone in Japan is just like so spiteful and hateful about everything, just like so non-thinking.
Well, one of my favorite character arcs of Gantz was Kureno, where he's like this, like, you know, completely nihilistic, you know, edgy little teen who's like, I'm better than everyone. Everyone's just concerned about themselves, and, you know, screw everyone. And then, and then he learns like to care about other people through his, like, you know, all I care about is, like, you know, having you know, sleepy fun time with this idol chick with her because she's got big melons. I'm avoiding very carefully because I don't know what YouTube, like, you know, will demonetize me for talking about any sexy fun time stuff. But anyway, so Kureno is like as shallow as hell. He's like this all shallow AF, as they say, the millennials. Mm-hmm. But then he gets this like committed girlfriend, and he, like, you know, the Gantz guy. He used to be a hentai artist before he did Gantz.
Right. Yeah.
His famous thing to the genre is that he said he contributed the nipple blur to the world of H manga, and that he said like everyone ripped it off of him. That was his definitive contribution to the genre, and that's why he left it to go to the world of science fiction.
It's an interesting transition. I'll give it that.
So the point is like he likes drawing sexy pinup girls, and he's pretty good at drawing sexy pinup girls. But he intentionally gives like Kureno like the most frumpy girlfriend possible.
She's not frumpy.
She's like
she's cute in her own way.
No, she's like very average. She's aggressively average.
Frumpy is not the right word though. I would not describe her as frumpy. She's like very homely cute. We'll put it that way. But yeah. What was our point with this?
My point... All right, we should wrap this up. Scott's around, so we should do the other thing. My point for that is that, like, Kureno has a great arc because he learns to, like, you know, divorce himself from his shallowness and learns the value of real human connection, because he has a real human connection with this frumpy girl who is, like, this sort of, like, you know, despite the fact he lives in a world of fantasy, he likes the down-home living with the girl much better than anything else. And it becomes this, like, really endearing romance. And Kureno grows so much as a person, and it's a great character arc.
I guess what this guy does a lot, he, like, preys upon, like, you know, our deepest, darkest fears about humanity, I think. Like, that everybody else is just, like, doesn't really care about anything. They want to murder, like, people, but, like, get away with it. They want to beat up and, you know, torture homeless people, you know, just for the fun of it, and not have any consequences happen to them. Like, it's... What's the word I'm looking for?
Nihilistic? Or... Well, wait, so, all right, we're going to wrap this up because our good old buddy Zavule's around and we want to do some other stuff with him before he, like, has to run away. But we like this. What's your score?
This is a 8.5 for me right now. It's a show that it's getting a lot quicker pace than the manga was, and I'm hoping that it catch up soon to where I left off in the manga.
Probably in the next few episodes if it keeps on going at this pace.
Yeah, and you know, I like this kind of storytelling from the Gantz guy. He really goes into, like, the dark corners of, like, humanity, and he really plays around with that, and that's very interesting to me.
It was definitely a solid 8. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm glad with the accelerated pacing. I'm kind of curious. I'm really curious to see if, like, they get through all 80 chapters of manga in, like, you know, 12 episodes or whatnot. You know, I'd like that. A really good, strong one. Good animation. Some of the CG was a little bit iffy, but it wasn't terrible.
Oh, yeah. This is another thing interesting, too. Like, the way they, you know, mix some of the CG, I feel like they had the old guy... They drew him... They they did like traditional 2D art of him, but like in the beginning of the episode, they had him a little bit of a CG thing. I almost felt like that was a little bit of a
foreshadowing of
a foreshadowing
a robot.
Of him becoming a robot.
That might be accurate. We'll just have to see how they treat it for the rest of the episode.
Just a tiny little
series.
Just a tiny little detail.
Just tiny little.
That was like a nice little artistic touch. I like that.
All right, so those are our thoughts on Inuyashiki episode 1. If you haven't heard of it, get on the Inuyashiki hype train. I don't think this is going to be like a huge genre-defining hit, but I think it's going to be a strong one. I'm looking forward to it. Probably my most anticipated anime of the season. Okay, so
did you give a score?
Yeah, I said 8.
Oh, okay.
I think it was a solid 8. Oh wait, so I'm going to include Gantz merchandise up on the top if you want to buy something from Gantz from Amazon, and of course read me and Zavule's read our short story ad boosters down there for free. Help me steal money from a awful millionaire guy, and all you have to do is just read an article for free. Like, you don't have to pay anything. You just have to click a link, and you'll help me steal money.
Okay.
All right,
you got to tell me more about that.
So remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it.